So after Kelly decisively stepped in the road and got hit by a car, Empathy looked at Kelly laying down the road and she said, meh. Then Taylor started yelling at Kelly for being a horrible leader.
Is Kelly dead?
We'll find out. Oh. And then Spockhead said that this was not logical at all. So she did not approve of this whole situation. I'm not quite sure what this professional Spockhead was doing in the story, because it clearly doesn't make any sense. So then, Kelly got up. She said, guys, it doesn't matter if cars hit me because I'm Batman. And then Empathy said, meh. Then Taylor decided she should probably become a supervillain since she hates everyone. And then Spockhead said, this is not at all logical. You're not Batman. And then Kelly said, oh, that's right, I'm not. And she fell down dead on the road. But we can't have 1/4 of this group of friends be dead already. So they decided they had to bring her back. Spock decided that this was totally logical since the same thing happened to him in the Star Trek movie. Except he wasn't hit by a car. He died in some other way that I definitely don't know. I just know that he died but then came back. But it happened, guys. So even though it was completely unlogical, Spockhead was still on board with this. And then Empathy didn't really care but had to go along with the story anyway. So it's like, fine, let's bring Kelly back to life, sure. She also said meh. Now, even though Taylor hated everyone, she still wanted to bring Kelly back to life because she had to still become a supervillain. And a supervillain can't be a supervillain without a superhero to fight. So really, she's the one behind this all. They took Kelly and they stuffed her in a pumpkin. Well, they had to hide her because no one could know she was dead because, number one, then they'd get freaked out when she started walking around alive again. Number two, they would obviously think that Taylor had killed her since she was about to become a supervillain. So, not sure why Taylor should care about her reputation at this point. She was definitely dedicated on the supervillain path, but that's how this story goes. They took the pumpkin that had Kelly in it, and they started walking around to find a way to bring her back to life. How are they going to do this? How do you bring someone back to life once they've been hit by a car, guys?
Kelly, you're the storyteller.
Oh, that's true, I am.
And you're the decisive one.
Yeah, but I'm dead.
Oh.
So, no one could decide where to go since Kelly was dead. They decided the best way to bring Kelly back to life was to write a comic book about her because comic book characters always come back to life. So they set to work on this. Empathy doesn't care about anything, so she won't put any effort into the art. So she has to write the story because it doesn't have to make sense. And then, what would be better at drawing a comic book? Someone who hates everyone and wants to become a supervillain, or Spockhead. So Spockhead was going to be the artist.
What a
Taylor
great job.
was in charge of marketing. He was Dead Kelly's team. No, my team. So this group of friends, even though one was dead, put together this comic book. It was a huge success. People started buying this comic book all over the place, and they just thought it was the best thing ever. So they bought the first issue, then they made out another one, and then they made a third one. And in this one, their superhero in the comic book was, of course, Kelly, died. So now it was up to real life. And then they had to come up with a brilliant plan in the fourth comic book of how to bring her back to life. And this was really important because hopefully it would bring real Kelly back to life too. I'm not sure how they made this, connection, but they definitely did. And it must have been logical because Spockhead was on board. So in this comic book, the character that Kelly was, I was gonna make me be Grammar Girl, but I can't be Grammar Girl because that's not opposite. It's a superhero that stands for the opposite of what I do, but still be considered a superhero, not a villain.
The Incredible Hulk.
That doesn't already exist.
Okay.
And it would fit into my logical, my decision-making one. I'll just name her Decision-Making Girl. But they just decided to kind of stick with what had almost happened and say that Psyche, Decision-Making Girl, wasn't actually dead. She just was mostly dead. So this is how it was. Decision-Making Girl looked like she was dead, but then suddenly it was revealed she actually wasn't, because
Whoa.
she's a superhero. They don't die. Sometimes they do, but then they come back, so it doesn't count at all. In fact, she was able to be brought back to life by dumping cold water on her head. So, decision-making girl's sidekick within the comic book dumped cold water on her head, and this restored her powers, and she got up and punched the car that had killed her. So then, as this comic book was written by Empathy, illustrated by Spotcat.
Oh, I wrote the comic book?
No, you illustrate it. She writes it.
Okay.
And stapled by Dead Kelly's teeth. And distributed by Evil Taylor.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You had to go live. So, as this happened, then suddenly the pumpkin burst open and out jumped Kelly. She was alive again. So then the group of friends was happy, I guess, because they were all together again. They were satisfied with the results, I suppose. And then Taylor went on to become a supervillain, and Kelly had to take up her superhero identity to do so. Fight Taylor. And Empathy and Spotcat continued to make comic books of their adventures and became fabulously rich.
Who marketed them?
They kind of marketed themselves because we were always fighting their battles all over the place. And they just got a stapler.